Let's dive into some policy a little bit. How would you say then you differ from Congresswoman Cori Bush?
I think there's a clear distinction. Um, as as a city councilman, I work to calm tensions between police and protesters, so that get so that we could bring real change, real reform, and we saw community policing. We've seen court reforms, and not just in Ferguson, but in the region, working with our community partners. As county prosecutor, we've aggressively prosecuted serious and violent offenders because we know that public safety is an issue with everyone, whether you're from a big city, small city. But also, we know that there's a large bucket of folks that are struggling with mental health issues and substance abuse and opioid abuse that need help. And so we've expanded our treatment programs, and I'm really proud of those programs, of the 2,200 people that we've been able to divert from a jail cell to a treatment program. These are low-level nonviolent offenders. We're talking a 5.9 recidivism rate, a 96% success rate. And so I'm really proud of that. But that came by listening to my constituents, being here, working with community partners. And I think that's a clear distinction. And so I don't look at it as running against any particular candidate or the incumbent. I look at it as I'm running for this district, and folks know me in this district, and they can look at our records and they can make a decision, and I anticipate they're gonna support us.
Sure, I totally understand, but to be fair, you are challenging her for this seat. So she often aligns herself with far left Democrats. Would it be fair to say that you are a more moderate Democrat then?
So I try not to get into what label you are, because I think that it distorts the actual issues. And I think we have to look at issues individually. And I think that's part of the problem that we've seen nationally, is that this is a very polarized and politicized country at this point. And folks tend to choose their positions on issues based on what their party um, 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 based on what their party believes or what have you, as opposed to having constructive conversations. So when I talked about expanding treatment programs, many people felt like that was a far left issue. And if that is, so be it. I just think it's the right issue. I think when people need help, you address those underlying root causes. But I think that on a national scale, when we're looking at supporting our allies and being a reliable ally, standing with our allies and standing against terrorism, call it whatever label you want. I just call it the right thing to do.
Let's talk about that a little further, because when you're saying standing with our allies, I assume one of them you would be talking about would be Israel, and she's called for a
Absolutely.
ceasefire. So what do you make of those calls?
I think, again, I think we have to understand the complexities and nuances of these situations. We all want peace in this region. We all do. But there are hostages. There are people who have been there, who have been raped, there are people who have been killed, obviously, over 1,200 people. And these were innocent people. These were not military targets. Hamas is a terrorist organization who has made it clear in their charter that the destruction of Israel is part of their goals, and made an announcement through a spokesperson that this will happen again. And so I think, obviously we all want to see peace, but we want the violence to stop. We want targeting of innocents to stop. We want to make certain that the hostages are returned home, and that Hamas can no longer attack and have the capability to attack not only just Israel, but anyone for that matter.
Do you think that these Democrats that are calling for a ceasefire should perhaps also call a little more loudly on Hamas to release these hostages then?
I do. I really do. I think sometimes we get lost in news headlines, and we're not realizing these are real people. These are not just fictional. This is not a fictional story. There are real people right now who do not know if they're going to live or die. We do not know the conditions that they are being kept in. We know that Hamas has threatened to kill them, execute them publicly, and to give them a reprieve, to be able to re-solidify and reinforce their positions is a concern to me. And so I think that if we are serious about peace, we have to call on the terrorism to stop. We have to call for the hostages to be released, because what we all know is that if Hamas and these terrorist organizations lay down their weapons, there will be peace in this region.